We are now live, Shay.
Whoa, we are live. We are live. We are here. And as I'm going through this time of where we are and talking to different folks, I'm hearing this thing that there's challenges, and then there's challenges, and then there's challenges. But there's a phrase that's been going around that there is no there is no champion without a challenge. Matter of fact, if you're listening right there, I know you're just tuning in. Some of them are just tuning in. So thank y'all for both of you ladies for allowing them to listen in to this at least this segment. But there is no champion without a challenge, and that happens no matter where you are in life. Just recently, I don't know if I told you this, and then I want maybe you guys, I'm gonna get your perspective on it. But just recently, we were in Memphis, Tennessee, and I have sinuses, and so I got on the plane, and it was a 7 a.m. flight. So that means the wheels in the air at 7 a.m. And I kid you not, about 7:05, 7:10, my nostrils just started draining. And it drained for the next 3 hours. We even did a Facebook Live there, and it was draining. My handkerchief was soaked. Here's the point I want to make, that there is no champion without a challenge. I was challenged, but I thought I had the right medicine in place. And so I waited a couple hours later to take my medicine. It didn't settle in, and I found myself literally sleep for about 24 hours. When I say sleep, like deep sleep, I woke up, but I couldn't really function the way I wanted to. Called my doctor this morning, and the doctor asked me the nurse asked me one question: why did you call me on Thursday? While you were out of town, I could have prescribed a prescription to you. So there is no champion without a challenge. The champion for me was that I still had to show up. We had a client. I was still there in the room ready to present. The next morning, I was the first one to present and had to go no matter what. So sometimes we have to push through. Sometimes we have to make that happen. Is that something that's ever happened to you? If you're listening right now, you're just joining just look below the video and let us know they can hear us, because they may not be able to hear that there is no champion without a challenge. So first, there is no champion without a challenge. If you can't hear me, say, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Kim Martin's over here all the way from California, and we got Kenya Jones right here from the state of Maryland.
Kenya Conway.
Kenya Conway. I thought Conway was Kenya Conway.
Yes.
Well, tell us, what are your thoughts if you're talking to the mic right there so they can hear you online as well?
You know what? I'm just sitting here shaking my head as you talk about there is no champion or, without challenge, because boy, have I experienced a challenge, in my life. This last week, not only this last week, this last year, I've been experiencing and going through a really major challenge that it kind of stopped me in my tracks, and I don't know, it took life out of me, and I went through this period where I was just emotionally drained, depressed, and I really got away from the things that were important to me in life. I had gotten away from things that made me happy, and I was passionate about, And then just recently, I was like, you know what? This is not me. I had to press the reset button. I had to get out of it, And so if you don't know what I'm referring to, last week, I went to court to finalize my divorce. And that's very emotional, for me, because that's not how I wanted it to turn out. But the thing is that it's not what happened to me. It's okay, what do I do now? Yeah. And that's the champion part. What do I do now? Yes, I was hurt. Yes, I didn't want that outcome. What do I do now? And so now I'm about moving on and picking up the pieces. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why this just resonates with me so much, because this is where I am. I'm having to take that challenge, and bring that champion in me out again.
So what would you say to the person, Kim, I'm going to get your thoughts, but Kim, what would you say to the person right now that's going through that divorce period, let's say, for example, and they're feeling like, you know what, I'm a failure, I haven't done what I should do. What words would you share to them that going through that challenge? What words would you share to them in order for them to actually be a champion right now? Because you got your papers.
Right.
So they're like, wait a minute, you got your papers. You can sit back and smile, but shoot, you don't know what I got to go through to get to my
Right. And that's the whole thing, and that's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a period that we have to go through and kind of mourn. Some of us, have different mourning processes. Some of us get over things faster than others. And so you have to allow yourself that time to grieve and to mourn, and it's okay. It is okay. Mm-hmm. But then you also can't stay there. You have to make the decision that, okay, enough is enough, and let me get on. And so if you are out there and you are going through something, whether it's, a relationship, whether it's your children, whether it's your job, things don't have to stay that way. I didn't have to stay in emotional distress. I didn't have to stay unhappy. So go through whatever process that you need to mourn that, and then make a decision that what's next. Now let me take some action so that I can come out on the other side.
Perfect. Kim Martin, what are your thoughts there? There is no champion without a challenge. If you're out there right now, go ahead and type right below, there is no champion without a challenge. There is no champion without a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am in total agreement that there is no champion without a challenge. And as I think about, back over my life, I can, if I try to give an example, which challenge do I choose? Because I feel like sometimes you're either headed into a challenge, you're in a challenge, or you just came out of a challenge. Mm-hmm. And, that's just the way it is. So the thing that comes to mind to me, just as we sit here, is the fact that we're sitting on Facebook and we're on Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was a huge thing, just opening up a Facebook account, because some years ago, I actually had a stalker in my life, having competed in a pageant, and several different pageants, but I didn't know where this person came from, except for the fact that they were in my house one night when I went in. And the way I found out they were there is I was disarming the alarm. I heard someone say boo from behind the door. So, and I can laugh about it now, but trust me, it's no laughing matter. And just the whole experience, we tussled. He shot at me. It was a major, a traumatic experience that really kind of shook me to my core. And for about 10 years, I literally changed who I was. I just wanted to wear black, not even black and white. I wanted to wear black and gray, maybe dark blue sometimes, because I just didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be noticed. And I thought if I wasn't noticeable or if I didn't stand out, then, I would eventually be safe. I mean, my entire life, I never drove home from work the same way, 2 days in a row, or it changed everything. It even changed my, how I paid my bills. Like, I got behind on bills because I didn't care, right? The mail would come, it would stack up. Mm-hmm. All I wanted to do was be in the house and make sure the door was locked and the windows, and I checked them probably 20 times a day. Mm-hmm. So, when you talk about moving on and going forward, for me it was a really long process. I already said it was 10 years, just kind of coming out, and then I was able to go on with my career and life, but I made sure I did it within certain bounds and in arenas and areas where this person was not likely to be, so that person wouldn't see me. But the way I got on Facebook, it became a requirement of my job and marketing and that sort of thing. And it really took me a couple months to even, sort of follow the guidelines and get on Facebook. And I thought I struggled at what I should I put my name? Should I make up a name? And it was just ridiculous. Well, it wasn't ridiculous because it was real and it was true and it was a challenge for me. And, for me, I did it as a function of my job, but I still never really felt safe about it. And so slowly but surely, I came out, and, I think a part of the triumph is that here I am sitting today live on Facebook, right? I have no idea who's watching. I don't even really know how to figure out who's watching. But I feel like a champion because I didn't let that person win. And did they ever find him? I don't believe they did. I've checked on it here and there. But the point is, I don't believe, you can be a champion without a challenge. A part of becoming a champion, whether it's a football player, basketball player, you got all the training and the 2-a-days, 3-a-days, whatever it is. Those are challenges. You are physically challenging your body and putting it to a test. But you can come out there and you can win. And dare I shout my allegiance to my basketball team. Y'all okay with that? The Golden State Warriors.
Is that a shout out? They're not as challenged, right? But they have a challenge.
They have a huge challenge.
They got a challenge.
Right? And I want to challenge them to bring home the trophy.
Okay. You're going
in addition to everything else, but yes.
So now all the Cleveland fans will say, no, that's not going to happen.
It's all right. We still love each other, but that's anyway. That's
so quick question for those folks that are joining, that are watching right now. We're in a conversation that we're having today that there is no champion without a challenge. If you're joining and you're watching for the very first time, just look right below the video. And when you look right below the video, go ahead and type your first name, type your last name, tell us where you're from, and then maybe share a challenge that maybe you had or a lesson that you learned from your challenge, a lesson that you learned. And I'm going to ask these ladies real quickly the lesson you learned from the story they just shared with you just now. But you right now, we want to recognize you. We want to recognize you that's out there. We see you, Jerry, is out there. We see Terry that's out there. We see Jennifer that's out there. Watts is just joined right now as well. So as you're joining right now for the very first time, go ahead and look right below the video. Enter your first name, enter your last name. Tell us where you're from, but then tell us a lesson you learned going through the challenge. That's what we're talking about today. That's what we're talking about today. So what was the lesson that you learned? You say, hey, Shav, I had to tell them the lesson I learned. I tell them the one I learned from actually not taking or making the call when I needed the help. The lesson that I learned is always to look over to the expert immediately, because had I done that, the 2 or 3 days that I was suffering and not being able to support my teammate, in this case, Trevor, and my client that was down there in Memphis, Tennessee, the way I would have wanted to, had my full energy and effort, I would have been much more effective. The lesson I learned was reach out to help, make the call, and then get the right prescription you need right away so you get results fast instead of suffering. Lesson you learned.
I've been hearing this all of my life, and it may sound simple to you out there listening, or, but it really didn't mean anything to me until recently, and that is just, this too shall pass. No matter what you're going through, no matter what I was going through, there's a season, for everything, and this too shall pass. The unhappiness, the depression, the loneliness, the despair, all those horrible feelings that I was feeling, instead of fighting it, just knowing that this is going to pass. I heard a gentleman say the other day, he said when he speaks to people and he says, hi, how you doing? And the person responds, oh, I'm doing great. He thinks to himself, oh, great. And if they say, oh, things aren't going too well, he says, oh, great too, because this too will pass. If you're feeling great, that's going to pass. Something's going to come up to try and knock you down. And then if you're not feeling so good, great. This is going to pass too. And one day, soon you will get your footing back again. So for me, this is going to pass.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
We have Danielle Jones Lockhart at Cleveland, Ohio. God did not make me to break.
Yes.
So if you're out there right now, once again, put your first name, put your last name, and tell us and share a lesson that you learned going through a challenge, and therefore you're able to become what? A champion, right?
Yes.
There is no challenge without a champion. We got Elisa Green from Irvington, New Jersey. She said here that the lesson that I learned going through one of my challenges, that life is short. It's counterproductive to hold on to things that are not serving you. Want to shout out to her. Lorinda Reeds, want to give her a shout out. She's out there from Hayward, California. It says, challenge taught me I'm stronger than I thought. Kim Martin, I'm coming over to you in a minute. I want to see the lesson. Look, if you're listening right out there right now, share the lesson that you learned. Look right below the comments. Kathy Sermon says, wow, she's listening. Arthur Bridges says, wow, she's listening. Vanessa McLean said there is no champion without a challenge. She's out in the UK, so she's here now watching. I want to say hello to all of you who are out there. Wow. Ursula Garnett said there is no champion without a challenge. Linda Nance says, hello, everyone. She's out there listening. Katrina Young says, hey. Tiffany Laurel says, great day, great people. she's joining us right now. If you're listening right now, go ahead and look below. Put your first name, put your last name, and then share with us the lesson you learned going through a challenge. Kim Martin, what's the lesson you learned? And how did you feel when that person was right there inside the house? I mean, you come in. How would you feel if someone was right there inside your house that they weren't supposed to be there?
I'd be shaking.
I mean, that's a challenge by itself, right?
Right.
No, I'm serious. I mean, wouldn't that be? How did you feel, and what was the lesson you learned?
Well, so I felt a little bit like Neo in the Matrix, and there was one scene where he's in this room. It's all white, and sort of all these files and servers and things kind of sort of go in front of him and behind him. And I have a software background, so I'm literally sitting there like searching my database, like who could this possibly be? No one has a key, right? And I just. Like, I couldn't come up with anything, so literally I just screamed, and eventually, I think I said before, we tussled, he shot at me, and he eventually left out because he knew the alarm would go off, I guess, and he must have known, the community, the property, those sorts of things. So at least that's what the police said a little bit later. So anyway, I felt, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was more of this out-of-body experience. But I often wondered, we watch Lifetime and we see those things that happen. Mm-hmm. But I often wondered, what would I do in a situation like that? And so I don't know if it was instinctive, but I screamed as loud, as hard, and as long as I could. And they said there were about 14 911 calls that night.
14 911 calls?
14 911 calls that night. And one neighbor came to rescue me. So gun in hand and all of that. But by this time, the gentleman was gone. But to get to the question.
And by the way, Courtney Ray says she's watching you, Kim. Glad you're doing your thing. You're doing a great job getting past your past and all that trauma. Yes. Tia Long says, hey, yeah. So they're watching you as well. We're watching you well. Go right ahead.
So to get to the lesson I learned, I'm reminded of a quote by Charles Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90%, what you do, how you react. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how it goes, but so for me, I had a decision to make, and that decision was, is this how the rest of my life is going to be? Mm. And I knew that there was more for me to do. And so hiding in the shadows and, driving down the street with my hand on the door lock and just doing it like just tap, 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 tap. I mean, you lock the doors once and the doors are locked. But I would do that 25, 30 times in a 20-minute drive, like every minute. So my entire life changed. But the lesson I learned is that, how am I going to respond to this? What am I going to do with this? And am I going to let this person take my life? And I didn't want to be in a space where I ultimately wound up, dying twice. Mm-hmm. Dying from that experience, but still being alive, my heart pumping and breath still being in my body. And then at the end, getting to a place where I would regret the fact that I did not live life the way I wanted to live. So I just slowly but surely had to, step out of that. And I think that's one lesson. And the other one, I think it was the person from Hayward that said something very similar, that I learned about resilience and being resilient, and I guess the art of the comeback. And I'm holding back tears. But yeah, so maybe I should just cut it off there.
We thank you for sharing. We thank you for that. And for those folks that are out there that are listening right now, go ahead and your words of encouragement to Kim is that there is no champion without a challenge. So take a moment, if you will. Take a moment if you're watching. Take a moment if you're watching. Just a few words of encouragement. Just look right below the video. Look right below the video. And right, there is no challenge without a champion. I mean, there is no champion without a challenge. Thank you. See, I got you smiling again.
Yeah.
You're a champion. So matter of fact, they can write, I am what? A champion. I am a champion. Kim, you're a champion. And certainly, Kenya, you're a champion as well. And sometimes you're a champion for others. I know you mentioned that you're going through a divorce right now. And
it's done. I'm not going through it
done.
anymore.
And so what I want you to do is, so today, what we're here to announce we're here to announce Project Rebirth.
Yes.
Right? Yes. You shared in the story in the time we have Project Rebirth. And take a moment, if you would, when you hear Project Rebirth, what does rebirth mean? Can you come to you first? And for those folks that are listening right now, go ahead and type right below the video, hashtag Project Rebirth. Mm-hmm. What does rebirth mean, and why is that important? Kenya, Conway, we're coming to you first. I got rid of the Jones.
I heard that hesitation. You'll get it.
I know it took me a moment.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, you know what? It's funny because when I a few weeks ago, you know that I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and so and I had started doing some speaking here and there, and then when life's circumstances started to happen to me, and we made the decision to separate. You know, there was something in me that died. There was a spirit in me that died because that's not what I envisioned. You know, certainly when I got married. And so through this year, like I said earlier, you know, there was a piece of me that was lost, and I was stopped in my tracks. And then I was thinking recently, and I had a conversation with you, and I was like, you know what? My next book is going to be The Rebirth of a Woman. And what I started thinking about is just being born again, you know, giving life to my dreams and my passions and my desires and all those things that I wanted to do before this situation hit the fan, you know. And so to me, it's about getting back to those things that I initially had set out to do, you know, before. Being born again. It's about, you know, releasing failures, you know, those feeling of failures, releasing, you know, hurt and any kind of pain, releasing any kind of regrets that I had, you know, and then just kind of just giving birth. When you think of a birth, you think of something beautiful, you know, you think it's the beginning of life again, you know, this is the first day of the rest of my life, you know, and I can choose to do with it whatever I want to do. And so, you know, those things are being reborn in me. And so I'm just really excited about doing me, getting back to me, helping other women who face challenges, you know, helping them to get through it. Because I know when I was going through this, I was on YouTube. I was just wanting to hear a message from somebody to help me get through what I was going through.
Right.
You know, and so I was on YouTube. I was searching different topics, and I just wanted a message from somebody. And if I could help just one woman out there get through a challenge that she may be experiencing, then it's all worth it for me. It's all worth it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that says a whole lot. You know, the Rebirth, Project Rebirth. Thanks for sharing your definition so far. Kim, I'm hearing a definition. I'd like to get your thoughts, your comments on this Project Rebirth. Folks that are hearing it for the very first time out there, as you're listening right below, you're here with Kim Conway. Kenya Conway. I got to get rid of Jones. Kenya Conway and Kim Martin. Kim Martin, tell us a little bit about Project Rebirth. Rebirth of a Woman, sorry.
So for me, Rebirth,
Go over here.
Yes. It is starting anew. It is realizing, it's like looking at life and you know, looking at your dreams or your business, to do it again. Like, we go through a lot of disappointments. I think, you know, life has the potential to be filled with disappointments, and a lot of times that comes from misaligned expectations or uncommunicated expectations. And so I think when I start to think about rebirth, it has to do with mastering those disappointments and moving from regret to the other side of, you know, to your lessons learned, and getting to the other side of disappointment. And so I think, you know, I was at an event this weekend, and I heard several times people say, you know, you have to just get over it and move on. And the truth is, I don't believe we just get over things. I think that we have to, you know, we go through things. We need to look at the lessons so we can grow through those things. And even as we grow and we learn from those lessons, you know, they're not just for us. They're for us to teach other people. And so we can teach people, and a lot of times I think, you know, we just sit back with disappointment and go from one to the other, and it really does pull us down, and we begin to expect, you know, disappointment. We begin to expect things not to work right, whether it's not for me and that sort of thing. But I think, you know, everybody just, I mean, if you're dealing with disappointment, you know, just write this down. I mean, I believe it's the art of mastering disappointment. And that's really how, at least for me now, I know it makes it easier for me to move through life. And procedurally, I have a process for handling it. I can do it in a matter of seconds. In fact,
oh, wow, you do?
I was called upon.
Wow, I like that.
I think that it's important for us not to stack our disappointments. Like, I think that we have, I mean, can you imagine like building a skyscraper with just floor after floor after floor of disappointment? And I think that happens a lot in our lives, one after the other, but it's important not to stack those disappointments. And so you want to stop building monuments to your disappointments. And so that is when I think of rebirth, it's about how do you stop building those monuments, and how do you master your relationship with disappointment, and how do you come to a place where you can truly be what I like to call undeniably audacious. Where
can you say that word again?
Undeniably audacious.
Undeniably audacious. I love that. I love that. Oh, that is cool. Okay. What did you say again?
Undeniably audacious.
Undeniably audacious. You like that?
Yeah, I like
Isn't that pretty cool? Hey, if you're out there right now, you're listening, look right below. This is what it's all about. Type these two words right below. I'm going to let you continue.
Okay.
Put down #Project Rebirth. Okay, tell us about it. Okay. Project Rebirth. Okay, go ahead.
So what I was going to say is that I think it's imperative for us to learn to master our relationship with disappointment, so that we can be the undeniably audacious women that we're created to be, whether it's in our relationships, in our business, in our finances, in our health, in every area of life. And for me, that is what Project Rebirth is really all about.
I love that. I love it. That's what it's all about. Project Rebirth, and how it started. And you said you have the methodology for that. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Something that you can share with folks, that a process they can go through?
Well, first, if everyone out there, if they could just write this down.
Okay.
I must master my relationship with disappointment.
Okay, say it a little slow. They must write down what now. As you're out there right now, Kim's giving you very specific instructions. Look right below the video. Lorinda Rito says, yes, your stories help others become champions. Is paying it forward. Thank you. Tiffany Lavelle said, #Project Rebirth. They're typing that right now below the feed. So give them these instructions. Write this down. What do you want them to write down, Kim?
I must master my relationship with disappointment, master the disappointment within, so that I can become the undeniably audacious woman I was created to be.
Wow, okay, say that one more time. I like that. That was good. Everyone write this down. Then put Project Rebirth. Go ahead.
I must master the disappointment within.
I must master the disappointment within. Got it.
So that I can become the undeniably audacious woman
Woo-hoo.
I was created to be.
Woo.
Project Rebirth.
And you know what?
Woo.
And excuse me for a second. Would you agree that was very powerful? Okay. Would you agree though? So people need to be taught these steps. We go to school to learn how to be a mathematician. We go to school to learn how to be a scientist. We go to school to learn how to be a teacher. And we hear when we get older, about the law of attraction, and you can have what you want, you can create your life, but no one really teaches us how to. What does it mean? How do you do that? How do you get control of your emotions? How do you, what was your phrase?
How do you master the disappointment?
And that is the crusade that you and I are on, which is so beautiful because we teach how to.
Yes.
Not
how
just,
to. Not just to, but how to.
How to do those things.
And I think a lot of times if you don't know how to and you're told to and you can't, then that is another disappointment that you're stacking on top, and it just gets worse and worse.
Exactly.
So you were sharing, point well taken. I agree with you 100%. what I'm trying to do one more time, because that post was important and your comments were right on point. We've been taught to do a lot of things, but not how to master disappointment. So share one more time. You shared something that they should all write down. And I'm not sure they're aware of this, but this is one of the keys that they're going to need in order to overcome their challenge and become the champion. Say it again a little slower. And everyone out there, if you didn't write it down, I believe it was, I must master the disappointment within. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna paraphrase and put what I put down. So I'm gonna help you write it down, and you're listening because I can learn from this too. And so I'm a student just as well as I'm here. So I came to teach, but I'm being taught. And I'm being taught how to master my disappointments. And I got a lot of disappointments. I got a lot, personally and professionally. I don't know about y'all out there, but this is about all y'all watching, not us. No, I'm serious. But in all seriousness, I must master, because no one tells me that. I must master the disappointment within so I can become the
undeniably audacious
woman,
I was created to be.
Hashtag
Project Rebirth.
Okay, so I'm going to say it again one more time, and I want you to say that. I must master the disappointment. So go ahead and type that down. So encourage them to type it down. I must master the disappointment within. So everyone write that down so I can become the undeniable, audacious. Ooh, I got to find out what audacious means.
Undeniably.
Oh, undeniably. Thank you very much. Audacious. Undeniably. Audacious. I want to learn what audacious means. You got to give us that definition later. I was created
to be.
I was created to be. Hashtag Project
Rebirth.
Everyone jot that down right now. That is powerful. That's a powerful phrase. Is that an affirmation? Because that's something that they can say on a daily basis.
It is something that they can say on a daily basis. Yes.
So for anyone that writes that down, anyone hits the share button, I'm gonna give away a gift, and I'm gonna have you make some comments. But anyone hit the share button now. If they share this and they put this comment down, coming to you next, Kenya, coming to you next. If they put this comment down, then I want you to do something special for them. Okay, because this is not for them; it's for other women that are out there.
Yes.
This is their way of paying it forward. Okay, so hit the share button. Just look right there, video. Hit the share button and type, "I must master the disappointment within, so I can become
the undeniably audacious woman I was created to be."
Hashtag Project Rebirth. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the gift is. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to get. I'm not going to tell you, don't do it for the prize. Do it because you want to help some other little girl, some other big girl, some other little guy, by the way, a big boy that's out there, and you're paying it forward. Can you look? I know you're listening in, and you're hearing that word audacious. You're hearing the word undeniably. You're hearing the word, Project Rebirth. Give us your commentary. Give us your closing. Your thoughts. Just your thoughts. Just one more time on this whole rebirth movement and why it's important. And I want to spend some time digging in later. I want to hear a little more, but just share your comments right now just about it. What is your perspective?
Right. Well, you know what? We're talking about being a champion and challenges. And I've had many challenges that I've had to go through. And I always try to keep, and I remember just 3 simple steps that I take, and I actually have to do that. I do them every day. Okay. So the first thing I do is I have to make up my mind. Okay. I have to make a decision, based on whatever's going on in my life. I have to make a decision about my job. I have to make a decision about a relationship. I have to make a decision about, the children, what's next for me. I have to make a decision. So that first step is just make up your mind, right? Then the next thing I have to do daily is work on my mind. We are surrounded with so many negative things. I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. I don't read the paper. I don't want to hear someone calling, gossiping about what's going on in this person's family or what's going on here or what's going on there. You must you've got to really protect your mind, because if you don't, you will be bombarded with things that will make you afraid. You will be bombarded with negativity. You will be bombarded with people who will tell you all the reasons why you can't, all the reasons why what you want to do will fail, all the reasons why you shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And so we need to constantly remind ourselves whose we are. whose we are. I am a child of God. You know, ever since I was little, you know, you hear people say all the time, I can do all things. I can do all things. You know, but if you listen to what other people say, you know, they'll say that on Sundays, but Monday through Saturday they're telling you otherwise. So you got to constantly work on your mind to build yourself up, to get you know, to build that confidence, to overcome those fears, you know. And then thirdly, don't pay anyone any mind. I know when I was younger, I used to always worry about what other people thought. Child, I will be 45 in July, and guess what? You don't pay my bills. You know, you don't take care of my children. You don't put food on my table. I will do whatever I want. And it takes a level of maturity to get there. You know what I'm saying? You've got to get to the place where you don't care what someone else thinks about what you're doing. So it's simple, 3 steps. Make up your mind.
Okay, so for those folks that are out there, go ahead and type these 3 steps below. Just to let you know, Katrina Young said yes, yes, yes. Ursula says yes, yes, yes. Give them 3 steps, and then, you know, I want you to tell them how they can connect with you, because they're wondering, they're listening, and they're wondering, like, okay, they heard the name Kenya Jones, Kenya Conway, okay, Kenya Conway, got it. They want to know how they can connect with you. So go ahead and, someone out there, type down the 3 steps. The 3 steps. Go ahead and type these down. Look right below the video. Type down the 3 steps and then put hashtag Project Rebirth. Give them the 3 steps.
3 steps, real simple. Make up your mind, work on your mind, and don't pay anyone any mind. Simple.
Work. Okay, say it again a little slower, so they can write it down.
Make up your mind.
Okay, number 1, make up your mind. So everyone type that down below. What is it, Kim? Make up your what?
Make up your mind.
Make up your mind. Okay, and that's kind of hard to do, by the way.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay. What's number 2?
Work on your mind.
Number 2, work on your mind. So type that right below.
Yes.
Work on your mind. Chris Meyer says, wow, Kenya, I see you. I see you. Lamont Vian says, I see you. So proud of you. Okay. Number 2 is work on your mind.
Work on that mind.
Okay.
And number 3 is.
What's number 3?
Pay no one no mind.
Whoa!
You gotta say it. At first, when I was thinking, I was like, hey, don't want to pay anyone any mind. No, don't pay no one no mind.
I think wow, I didn't know you was, I didn't you had that in you. It's got a little fire going on here. What Trevor out there? I got to tell Trevor about this. There's a little fire going in here. I tell you. Okay, so now we got the 3 steps. Hashtag Project Rebirth. How can they reach you, by the way? Where can they go to reach you?
Well, my website, KenyaConwayJones.com. You can send me an email, or you know what? Because I shared earlier that I'm going through this transitional period. I'm rebirthing.
Marshall Woodland said, by the way, thank you very much. Make up your mind. She just typed, I'm just following the comments. Don't be mad at me. Don't tell them that I'm just following the comments. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'm gonna put it out there. You can call me or text me. I'm gonna give you my number.
Okay.
My personal number. So it's 443 398
398. Coleman Cummings said, keep it real. Okay.
1414.
1414. Okay,
send me a text. Yep, 443-398-1414.
And if they send you a text, what should they put in the text so you know who they are? Tell them put hashtag Project Rebirth.
Sounds good.
That's a good start, right? So you know. Hashtag
Project Rebirth.
In their name. Is it okay to put their first name and their last name? So you at least know who they are.
Absolutely.
And maybe their best contact number. So you have that information. Wow, that's incredible. What are you thinking over there? What are you thinking over there? The audacious. I mean, I want to hear a little about that definition at some point. I'm just curious what your perspective is on that. But what are you thinking based on what you just heard from Kenya?
No, I absolutely.
Who I know will be stepping out for a few minutes. Okay.
I absolutely agree, because I believe everything starts with your belief system. And just like you said, you got to make up your mind, and then I think with our beliefs, we have to believe that we are worthy of something better, and we are worthy of, a great relationship, or worthy of the life we want to live, or worthy of the business that we want. And it all starts in our minds. And there's a Chinese proverb that I like, and I may not get it exactly right, but it says, be careful of your thoughts, for your thoughts determine your words. Be careful of your words, for your words determine your actions. Be careful of your actions, for your actions determine your habits. Be careful of your habits, for they determine your character, and be careful of your character, for your character determines your destiny. So what I like to do sometimes is take all the other words out of the middle, and your thoughts determine your destiny. So you really want to start, you want to make up your mind, you know, that you're going to get past it, or you want it to be better, you want something different, you deserve it, right? And making that decision, John Maxwell said, everything starts with a decision.
Absolutely.
And then you can spend the rest of your life managing that decision, right? And then pay nobody no mind. Now, I like that. I heard a visiting pastor recently say, you know, when we compare ourselves to others, or we're constantly concerned about what other people think, it is an insult and a slap in the face of God. So, you know, he has a plan for us. I know his thoughts toward us are peace and prosperity. And it is important that we, you know, look to him and to that plan, to that destiny, and inside, because we already know it's already ingrained in our DNA. But we spend so much time looking around and trying to be this and be that and do that. I think also that also holds us back. It causes disappointment. It causes us to not be, to allow ourselves to be denied. And it causes us certainly not to be audacious in stepping out into who we know we should be and what we should do and what we should want. So, you know, Rocket, hats off to Kenya. Those are 3 steps. So if you guys didn't write those down, write them down, you know, make up your mind, make a decision, and pay nobody no mind. And please write it just like that. Don't pay nobody no mind. That's what, like a triple negative. I know, right? So in the end, it's still negative. So forget about what they think.
Yeah, right. The teacher coming out.
Hashtag Project Rebirth. Please get that.
Hashtag Project Rebirth. You know, we're here today talking about there is no champion without a challenge. She says she got a little more time. See, Trevor, that's kind of how it works. Isn't that kind of works? There is no champion without a challenge. A very, very serious conversation at a very serious time for a number of folks that are going through their business now, and it's all about Project what? Rebirth. You know, if we look at Project Rebirth from maybe 2 different segments, if we would, is it possible folks can have a rebirth in their business?
Absolutely.
And a rebirth in their relationship, and maybe a rebirth in their finances, a rebirth in their health? You know, will you give your perspective on any one of the categories, and maybe a challenge? I know a challenge that maybe you went through in that area, and then had the rebirth. I know that, you know, as a stutterer, one thing some folks may not know, when I was in school as a young guy, I was a stutterer. Now, I didn't know that I was a stutterer. My mom used to tell me I just talked faster. My mind was thinking faster than everyone else, and so my words weren't coming out as fast. But that becomes embarrassing, and you think it goes away, and it's a challenge, right? But then you get to college, and it's still there. And then you're an adult, it's still there. Then you're an older adult, and it's still there, right? And so at some point you reach it that this is just who I am, and I can be the best that I can be when I can be it. And so the rebirth comes when you shift, as you talked about your mindset, and said, well, despite that, here's some very things I can still do anyway and still accomplish. And so I'm able to sit here and talk to you without getting too nervous and stuttering too much. So talk about something in your area that was like a personal rebirth, a challenge that was always with me for many, many years.
Right.
Talk about a rebirth in any one area. Kim, I'll come to you, and then Kenya, over to you. And as you're out there listening right now and you're watching, look right below and put down a category. It could be finances, it could be health, it could be relationships, it could be business, could be dealing with partnerships, and put down what is a challenge in that area. What is a challenge? And put hashtag Project Rebirth. So maybe it's a challenge in health. So a challenge is being able to eat the right foods at the right time. Hashtag Project Rebirth. We're going to put the challenge down, and then later we'll come back and we'll talk about what we can do to overcome that challenge. So Kim, what's maybe a challenge in one area? If we can be a little more specific and be a little more open, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I think, again, I have a plethora of challenges from which to choose. So, but I think the one that I'll share had to do with me transitioning from my corporate career into entrepreneurship. And I had a long time corporate career. It was successful, and I was in a place where I was reminded on a daily basis that my position was enviable, and the reminders were not nice reminders. So, so I had to fight through those challenges on a daily basis. And when it came time, I think from the beginning I knew I don't think I really wanted to just work for somebody. But I went to school, I became a software engineer, and you get a job, and money is good, perks are great, and so somewhere you tell yourself, I think I can do this, right? But I used to tell my dad, I'm not going to be the one to get the 30-year watch, though, so I'm just probably not. And so I just always felt deep down inside that, I had just had two questions going on. First of all, is this all there is? Sometimes I would sit in meetings, I'd have these like out-of-body experiences, like, haven't we already discussed that like 4 times? Like, really? Don't we have an answer for that? Like, let's just go, right? And then the other question I had was, it's just kind of, is there more? And it's deep in my gut, I just felt like there was more, there was something bigger for me to do. I did have a big job, but I still felt like there was something bigger for me to do. And so as time went on, and you go up the ranks, it becomes a little more challenging, and you try and suppress those questions and those feelings, and you try and still make it through. But I made a pledge to myself when I first got out of college that I would retire before I was 41. And I got comfortable, managing, I think just sort of sucking the disappointments and the challenges and the hard days under the rug, and I would go back and continue to go back. And actually someone literally called me about a business opportunity that sort of woke up that sleeping giant on the inside of me. And I latched onto it like crazy because I thought this is going to be my way out, but I knew all the time it was just a vehicle. And I think the biggest part of that challenge for me was I love my parents tremendously, and the older I got, the more I realized that my father's approval really mattered to me. And the more I changed careers, I changed jobs, and I look back, and every time his approval or that stamp mattered to me. So when and he was very proud. My family was very proud of where I was and what I was doing, and I sort of felt like inside that I represented them. I have 3 younger sisters. I knew they were looking up to me, and I felt like I can't fail. Like I have to set up, pave the way for them and that sort of thing. But what I realized is what I'm showing them is how to live a life you don't want to live. I'm not really showing them how to, take control of your life and do what you want to do. Recently, I read a stat that said the number 1 regret people have on their deathbed is that they lived the life they were expected to live, not the one they wanted to live.
Not the one,
that they didn't pursue those desires, they didn't go for it. They followed the predefined, whether it's American dream or Chinese dream or Asian dream, whatever, they followed the predefined dream. And the reality of it is when you get to the place where you don't have as many, you've got more yesterdays than you have tomorrows, then it's almost too late to do anything about it. So I decided I was going to take that leap anyway. My husband and I made the decision, and here I am in my 40s. I still felt the need to call my dad and let him know. And I'm on the phone just, telling him, bawling. I promise y'all I don't cry all the time, but I'm bawling and I'm telling my dad, and he's like, you've done everything I've ever asked or expected of you. Like, you guys made this decision. I'm sure you counted the cost. And I'm sure that you'll be okay. You'll make it. But then once I got out there, what I learned was I was an excellent employee. I did not know how. Someone wants to call in on the talk line. Can we get a line?
That's you.
Me?
This one?
All right, I'll stop in a second. So I just want to wrap this up and say that I was a phenomenal employee. And then I stepped out into the world of entrepreneurship. Once entrepreneurs create things, and they're creators, and they add value and bring, goodness to life and to the market. And once I really started to try to become an entrepreneur, I realized I didn't know how to do it. So I got into a lot of programs. I signed up with a lot of coaches, and they had phenomenal programs. And I was desiring success, and everybody thought I would have because of the way I was in corporate America. And I was desirous of that success. And it took some time, and I did experience some disappointments. And in fact, when I talk about mastering the disappointment within and being undeniably audacious, hearing your own voice, following, all those things come from my journey, of working to find success in the world of entrepreneurships. I've heard it called, a different jungle. And if you listen to the person that would have said that, you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, so I don't know. It was a huge challenge, first of all, to leave, because I was leaving behind what people consider comfort and security. And we love to say benefits, right? I was leaving behind benefits. But I just got to the place where, my desire, my life meant more to me than having medical insurance. Like my dream meant more to me than, building someone else's dream just to get a steady paycheck. So it was a huge challenge. And I said all that, a long way to say that, no matter what, you can still, if you have that desire and, you want to be able to make that decision. Because I know I'm not the only one out there who's wondering if this is all there is, right? Or if there's more. Everybody does. I mean, we get to that place, especially kind of when you get to midlife, I think. Because you're sort of in the place where, you know what, that's not really where I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. And how do I get to where I wanted to be and what I wanted to? I wanted to wake up every day just where I could feel invigoration rushing through my veins. Like I had this amazing workout, and I wanted to be super excited about the work I was doing. And I wanted to know that I was blessing lives and changing the world. No,
what you're saying is so on point. Gary Dumas, who's in Kansas, says, I'm definitely going to revisit this video. No champion without a challenge is listening in, by the way. Kathy Sermon says, your thoughts determine your destiny. I know you mentioned that. Powerful talk, ladies that are listening right now. And they said, you know what? At the end of the day, Kathy Sermon, who's been really just following us, this is like real talk, challenges that you've had to go to. The topic today is there's no what?
No champion without a challenge.
Without a challenge. Project what?
Rebirth.
Of a
woman.
Rebirth of a woman. Yes. Rebirth of a woman was all about. Before I come over to you, just real quickly, you were sharing, very personal stories. So thank you for sharing about your dad. We could hear the emotion in there. The question I have is, what was that defining moment? I mean, in all that you just talked about, what was that moment you said, you know what, I've had it. I mean, that's enough. I'm going to make this work no matter what. It was many pivotal points, but is there one that kind of stands out? You're like, you know what, I've got to keep on going.
So I think the defining moment for me was when the closer I got to 50. So I wanted to leave at 41, and I realized I missed my target. But so it was two things. It was the closer I got to 50, and I said I will not be in the same place, because if I get to 50, then I may not take the leap. I may not take the jump. So that was important to me. So it was that, and it was the fact that I had a coworker pass away from some form of cancer, and I didn't even know she had cancer. And over a series of months, there were these announcements that would be made on our company intranet, and people were passing away. And I thought, I will not be the one that people come in here one day and read my story like that, right? I just won't. There's so much more out there for me to do, and I owe it to the God that created me. I owe it to my family, my sisters, my community, to myself, to go out and at least give it a try. Because if I don't try, I'll never know. And one thing about me is I don't give up easily. So if I try, it might take me, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 times. But if I'm assured that it's God's will, that that's where I'm going to get to, I let go of what the path has to look like, but the destination and the destiny I hold on to. So those were sort of key things for me. I just couldn't see myself, being there. And it was nothing wrong with the company, any of that. It's just that I was misplaced and I needed to be replaced, or dare we say reborn,
Yeah, rebirth.
and put back on the right path so that I could fulfill the destiny that I knew I was created to fulfill.
Absolutely. For those folks that are listening, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. I had so many comments and they keep jumping around so fast on my screen here. I'm trying to keep up with them. Ursa says, great advice. These are definitely defining moments. The closer you get to the age of 50, the loss of a friend due to cancer, they're trailing you as you're speaking right now, as you're speaking. Look, if you're out there right now and as you're listening, here's what we want you to do. We want you to hit the share button. Kenya, I'm coming over to you.
Yes.
I want to hear your perspective on one area, the Project Rebirth. But go ahead, hit the share button right now. We're going to encourage them to hit the share button. When you hit the share button, type these words. There is no what?
Yes, there is no champion without a challenge.
There is no champion without a challenge. Hashtag Project Rebirth. For those folks that are out there today, we're here talking about something very, very important. The subject that we're talking about today is Project Rebirth of a what?
Woman.
Rebirth of a woman.
Yes.
Rebirth of a woman and what it means and what it's about. Kim Martin from California, by the way. What part of California?
San Jose.
San Jose was just telling her.
Northern California.
Northern California. Okay, well, telling what it's all about. Kenya, as you were sitting there listening, the folks that are watching right now, we're talking about there is no champion without a challenge. Project Rebirth, which is the rebirth of a woman, right? The rebirth of a woman. Share maybe an area that you had to have that rebirth in. Tell us the area and a little bit about what it was about, and more importantly, the lesson that we all can walk away with.
Right.
Folks that are out there, thank you so much for sharing Project Rebirth. We want to acknowledge folks that are out there right now as well. So continue on as I click over here. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you know what, Kim? You said a lot of things that I could relate to. And one of those things was death. So I'm a teacher by training. I have my master's degree in curriculum instruction and educational leadership. And I've been teaching for the last 14 years. But it was at my grandmother's funeral. I had been longing to do something different for some years.
Some years? So it wasn't just overnight?
It was not overnight.
Year after year after year?
Year after year. I was going to, I love the kids, so y'all parents who might be watching me, I love the kids, but that was not what I wanted to do every day. I did not want to wake up and go to, I was a special education teacher. I did not want to wake up and do that every day. So for years, I was going somewhere where I was not putting my all into it. My heart was not in it. And so it was at my grandmother's funeral that I decided that enough was enough. I'm going to finish out this year and I'm going to make my exit plan. So, and then you talk about death. Oh my gosh, people who I grew up with, young people dropping like flies from sicknesses, just all of a sudden. And I just had to be like, look, like you said, I do not want to be on my deathbed and thinking, oh, dang, I should have did this. I wish I would have done that. I could have done that. What would life have been like if, all these ifs, And so it's funny because a year later, I did decide to leave my job. I was married at the time. He didn't like that. That didn't go well with him. But that was one of those things where I had to make up my mind. It was my life. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to do what I was passionate about. I wanted to help other women, help other people. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe when you are passionate about what you do and when you love what you do, you show up differently. You know what I'm saying? Life is just so different. So I did make that decision, left the job. Then I get hit with the challenge. And boy, oh boy, that challenge stopped me in my tracks. But we're talking about, business here. And so I did make that decision to change careers. And I had to be willing and I had to be committed. And when I say committed, you've got to be committed to your business in such a way where no matter what happens, you're committed. You're there for the long haul. You're not here for a week. You're not here for a month. You're not even here for a year. You're here for the long haul. This is my business. You know, a lot of people get into business, and if things don't look good or if it doesn't work out immediately, then they want to quit.
Yeah.
But you've got to be committed. And that was one of the key things to me, because obviously leaving my job, then getting separated, things were not going my way. So I had to be committed, you know what I'm saying? And so just recently, this whole rebirth movement that we're on, I had to be reborn again. I had to recommit, you know, to what I initially set out to do. So it's just, we're talking about challenges and being a champion and being committed in business. And I'm here you can create whatever it is that you want to create. You know what I'm saying?
So,
and
how did you go through the process of making that, you know, finally, I know you said it was your grandmother's funeral, that was sort of the tipping point for you. And then how did you go through the process of making that decision? Did you talk it up with your husband first? And because I know you said that he wasn't in favor of you leaving.
Right.
So
it definitely was a process, and like I said, that had been brewing in me for years. I had a good friend, Craig Valentine, who's a very successful speaker. And when I was teaching, I had even invited him into my classroom so that he can tell me, you know, what did you do? Because he was in another career himself as well. And now all of a sudden he's traveling, he's speaking to all these big corporations and, you know, very well known. And I wanted to find out what he did. So I had to find people who were doing what I wanted to do, you know, and learn from them.
Yeah.
And
I think, as Shay said earlier, you had to go to the experts, right? And
exactly
get that, learn from their experience and the things that they, you know, you asked for help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And create a team, you know, because I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
Even today, you know, we have successful businesses, and we have a team though that helps us with all of this.
Yes.
So
I think it was John Maxwell that said, one is too small of a number to do anything great. So even as we talk about this project Rebirth, right, I'm super excited to be collaborating with you, and there's some other ladies we're going to be collaborating with, so that we have a team of people that, you know, we have the rebirth in common, but we kind of come at it from different perspectives. Yeah. And I think we're going to have a major movement.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So as you were over there chatting about that, going back and forth, project Rebirth of a woman. Project Rebirth of a Woman, and you were sharing your story and that defining moment with your grandmother's going away or grandmother homecoming. It just clicked in you. And then Kim, you on the other side that said you're walking in there and someone else is not going to write your story.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to write the story and they can read the story,
but
they're not going to write the story. Is that what I heard?
Yeah. They're not going to write the story.
Do you have children?
I do.
The reason I'm asking is because another major thing for me is I have, my daughter is now 19 and my son is 15, and I'm always encouraging them to live their dreams and do what you want and make it happen. And here I am encouraging them to go after their goals, and here I'm going to a job every day miserable, not really pursuing my dreams, but yet I'm telling them to. And so I needed to be an example to them. So that was another major one for me.
And so let me correct on that. I do have children by marriage. So if my sisters are watching, they're like, "You don't have babies."
But we don't care what they think. We don't care what they think no more.
I didn't get a chance to finish that whole thing, but I completely relate to you, and that's why I said, you know, what I was showing my sisters, the example I was giving them as how to live a life, you know, that's not authentic, you know, how to go through the motions and how to, you know, you get to a place where not even money satisfies that, right? There's only so many shoes and purses, and ladies, I like shoes and purses, so, you know, but I just got to the place where, they couldn't satisfy me. Like, I mean, you can't even carry them all. Right now, they're in a closet in bags, and
Right.
you know, I
Not
pulled
being
out one the
used.
other day. Yeah, like, oh, I haven't carried this in like 2 years. So, but none of that was.
But you had to have it back then?
But I had to have it back then. At least I thought I did, right?
gonna
'Cause I
use
think
it one day?
It was sort of like a Band-Aid, or maybe, I don't know, like a little shot to anesthetize me to the fact that, hey, you're not really doing what you want. You can carry this in the morning, you know, going to a place where you know you're coming to an end, but you know, you'll look good, right? After a while, it just doesn't matter. Like,
Exactly.
it's what, you know, what am I here for?
Right.
And, you know, it's the deeper part of it. And I actually wrote a small little ebook, and it's on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. It's called, guess what, Undeniably Audacious.
Yes.
And
I was going to mention the book. You mentioned that those two words a couple of times, many times throughout here. Do you mind stepping back and giving us what the definition is, or at least your view of the word is?
Yeah, sure.
And then I want to talk a little bit about what's the mission of this book.
So first of all, I guess the meaning of the words, I think undeniably is that, well, let me start with audacious. Okay?
Yeah, because audacious could mean many things to many people. Yeah,
audacious is about being bold, is about exuding courage. It is about, you know, pushing past fear. It's about, you know, it's about living the life you want and doing the things that you say that you want to do. It's not about holding back. I think life is. I really feel like life was meant to be lived, and life loves being lived. And if the more you live life, the more life there is for you to live. So that was a lot of lives in this.
Yes, it was. Right? It was.
But I when I think of life, and I think of, you know, people always say, well, we got this one life, and it's not a dress rehearsal. But I just really believe that life was meant to be lived. And when I was a kid, we had this game. I don't know. It was where you can learn it was some little game. You slide different cards in, and you can learn the capitals of all the countries of the world, the capitals of the states in the U.S.
They didn't have a game in my neighborhood. They didn't have a name in my neighborhood. I don't know what you're talking about, Kim.
I don't even remember
we
the
had
name
blackjack.
of it, but it was
we
like
had Uno. What you talking about?
We had Uno too.
Oh, okay.
It was like some geography.
Somebody out there tell us the
right?
name of this game. If you're out there listening right now, Kim's mentioned the name of a game.
And
please tell us what the name of the game is.
To be 1,000% transparent, it wasn't ours. It was like a friend of my mother's. It was her daughter's, but she would bring it over. We would play.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
But the point is, I as a child, I found things on there like the capital of, you know, Czechoslovakia was Prague, and I thought, oh man, that sounds nice, Prague. I want to go to Prague one day, and I want to go to, like, I would pick things out, and little did I know that I was making this, you know, sort of bucket. Well, I wouldn't even call it bucket list, but a life list, right? It was a life list, and they were bold, audacious things. I mean, I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Shout out to the Rock.
Shout out to Little Rock. I was just down in Little Rock 2 weeks ago.
Little Rock City.
All right, I love Little Rock.
So shout out to Little Rock, and I was the firstborn child of teenage parents. My mom was 17. No, she was 16 when I was born. My dad was 19. So my mom couldn't even take a picture in her senior yearbook because she was married, but she was pregnant. So, you know, that kind of thing in the South, and, you know, in the time that I grew up in. But for me to be sitting there picking out places all over the world that I wanted to go, I mean, who told me to do that? Nobody. I think it was a God thing. So when I think about being audacious, I think about just going for things. And when I think about, undeniable, I think if you're going to be audacious, you're going to be bold, and you're going to be courageous, I think that it should be, you know, you shouldn't hide and do it. When I started doing some things online in my business, I kind of did them undercover. So I wasn't as successful as I should have been or could have been in the beginning because the group of folks I was working with, and some may be watching, I don't know, but they didn't really, you know, support the online model. And so I wanted to do it anyway because I knew it could be done. So I just think so undeniable means that you're not going to be denied. You're not going to let anyone, anything, not even yourself, deny you of, you know, the great things that you want out of life and the things that you want to do. So when I say undeniably audacious, it's literally about living up to your full potential and your full desires and going for it and, you know, making it happen. So that's what I mean by that. And the book itself is called Undeniably Audacious, Embracing the Courage to Make Your Mark. And the reason I say embracing the courage, because I believe we all have a measure of courage. I think it's a muscle, and it's about exercising it. And the more you exercise it, the stronger you become. And I think it was Brene Brown that said, you know, if you want to learn, you learn to swim by swimming, and you learn to courage by couraging, right? So, you know, it was about couraging.
Right.
So that was my, you know, when I put it together, it's a pretty quick read, but it really is about, you know, go for it, live life. Like, don't let things hold you back. Situations, circumstances. It's not about who's in the White House. It's not about the price of gas. It's not about any of those things. And I feel like when we make it about those things, we give our power away, and we sort of relieve ourselves of responsibility to make things happen. So that for me is you know, where I'm coming from. It's just about living up to your full potential. And I love to talk about, you know, be the Oprah of your life, right? Be the Nelson Mandela of your life. Be the Bill Gates. Be the Warren Buffett of your life. Like, you know, what would Oprah do? She went and did the OWN network anyway, right? And I saw her when she was transitioning into it. She was literally scared. And I just about cried on stage at an event in California with Maria Shriver. And it was challenging for her because around the same time I was transitioning, making that decision to transition out of my corporate job. And I was like, man, I am in good company. Look at Oprah up there, right? If Oprah's feeling like this, my feelings are more than justified, and she's going for it, I'm going for it. Just like I jumped backwards in the ocean the other day. I didn't quite flip, but, you know, go for it. That's really what it's all about. Don't let anything, anyone, any situation hold you back.
Right. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And tell us one more time, what is the purpose of the book? The mission of this book.
The mission of the book is really to encourage people to be undeniably audacious. And I have just some really simple steps to help people, you know, to get started and to go down that path, right? I think fear holds us back a lot, but it's about doing it anyway and pushing past all of that.
So for those folks that are listening, they're probably wondering, have heard about this book, you've talked about this book. The question is, how do they get their hands on the book so they can share it with someone else as well? So where can they go to get the book, to listen to the book, or read about the book?
Well, it's an ebook, so and it's available on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon.com, and the easiest way to find it is to search for Undeniably Audacious. Just search for Undeniably Audacious, and it comes right up. So,
yeah. So go to Amazon.com is what you recommend? Okay.
And anyone who grabs it and reads it, I would love for you to share a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments. If you have any questions, you can ask me those as well, and I'll gladly get back with you.
Yeah. So if somebody, once you find the link, because they're going to go to Amazon.com, and you find the actual link, if you can take that link with your permission, can they post that into the comments below the video?
Sure.
So someone else can go searching all the way through for it. So
Absolutely.
if you're out there right now and you're listening and you're over at Amazon.com, and you're going to type 2 words in the search area. What's the 2 words?
Undeniably Audacious.
Okay. Put those 2 words right there in the search, and then it should come up, and they can click right on it, and there's a link there. Take the link, and they have our permission to copy it right below.
Yep, they have our permission.
Kenya, I know as you're listening to Kim, she's talking about the book and the mission of the book and the purpose of the book. What's one of the reasons why someone that's listening, that's watching right now, should not only get the book from themselves, but should share it with someone else as well?
Right. It's all about improving the quality of life. And I'm the type of woman where if I can read something, listen to something, experience something, go somewhere that's going to make my life better, then I'm all about it. So I definitely encourage, if you're listening, make sure you go and get Kim's book, and I'm sure, and I'm going to have to do it myself. So definitely, I'll be giving a little review. Yeah, so
I appreciate it. It's a short read, so if you typically fall asleep when you're reading, You won't get to fall asleep before you finish reading this.
Just hearing about it, anything that you can read that's actually going to make your life better, something that you can put your eyes on, depending on what situation you're in, that's going to get it. So, like Kim, I'm going to have to go and put my eyes on it so I can see what it's all about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the one and only Candace Camille, who has joined us here in the studio. Candace, why don't you introduce yourselves to the viewers here?
I am Candace Camille. I'm the wellologist, but these days known as the International Gangster Planker. I am CEO of Candace Camille Enterprises, Pure Euphoria Wellness Boutique, as well as the creator of the Plank Talk Challenge, a challenge that was created to bring about change in 1 minute. 1 minute to change the trajectory of your well-being. You know, as entrepreneurs, we are so busy, and I was trying to come up with something where we can do something quick, fast, and in a hurry that give you optimum results. So that's how the movement pretty much was born. So we created Plank Talk Nation, actually.
Awesome.
That is actually global right now. So I'm excited about it, and it's all about change, and that's what brings me here today. What is it that we're doing or that you can give or you can share that's going to change your life for the better? So it's in, when you talk about Oprah and her being scared to do the own channel, but they say if it don't make you scared or make you pee on yourself, it ain't big enough.
It's not big enough.
And speaking of fear, you know, we were talking about challenges. You know, there is no champion without challenges.
challenge.
And so I have to get ready to run, but I want people listening, I want you to know that, you know, wherever you are, you know, whatever challenges you are experiencing, you know, this does not have to be your last chapter. You can rewrite the story, whatever you may be going through financially, whether you're going through something in your marriage, whether you're going through something with your children, whether you're going through something, you know, in your career, whatever challenge that you are going through right now, it doesn't have, you don't have to stay stuck. It doesn't have to, this does not have to be your end. I have a little quote on my phone that says, I can and I will. And you have to adopt that philosophy. I can and I will. I know whose I am. So I just wanted to shout out a couple of people who joined in to watch me, some of my friends on Facebook. Hey, John Morant and Chris Myers and Brian Parker. Give it up for all the men that's tuning in. Lemoyne and Joe Green. Christy Conway Myers and Shayna Allen. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is real serious. I hope you share this because this is about, you know, the rebirth of a woman. So make sure you put in hashtag rebirth of a woman and share this video because this could bless another woman's life. I know as I was going through these challenges with the divorce and all this emotional turmoil, I just was grabbing at anything that could help me. You know what I'm saying? And so make sure you share this because I want you to know that whatever you are going through, this does not have to be your stopping point. In fact, it just gets better after here. You know, today is the first day to the rest of my life, and you must adopt that philosophy as well. I'm excited about the rebirth of a woman. I'm excited about being born again. I'm excited about, you know, getting what God has for me. You know what I'm saying? And so it has been a pleasure. And
It's been a pleasure.
It had a pleasure.
We're coming down the home stretch. And I know you rolled out. We're going to have final comments from none other than Kim, who are cutting to, and then Candace is going to have some final comments as well.
Okay, fantastic. I just want to thank everybody that joined in and commented and shared your own challenges in the Facebook comments. And I'm really excited about the project of Rebirth of a Woman because the way I look at it is it's just a new starting point. That's all it is, a new starting point. And we've all had life lessons. We have gone through some disappointments. We talked about mastering the disappointment within. And literally, I shared that I had a methodology for doing that. And really, it just it kind of helps you to be able to capture the things that you've gone through, to glean the lessons from those things. No matter how horrible or how bad it was, there has been some goodness out of it. And take that goodness and, work with that. And oftentimes we find that those things that we learned out of the hard places, the challenges in our lives, we can turn around and teach someone else from those. And so it's so important to be able to teach. And then what I like and what I love about it is when you adopt those things, they become a part of your own personal success formula.
Amen.
And you take those and you go forward with those. And so just to everyone out there, I'm super excited to have just had a moment of time in your precious life. And I think it was a God moment, a point. I don't think there are any accidents. So if you're listening in, know this is exactly where you're supposed to be, even if you had to sneak and listen in at work. Right? So you can always come back and listen to the replay. And I'm really excited. Write this just one more time. # Project Rebirth of a Woman. And remember that you must learn to master the disappointment within if you are going to be the undeniably audacious woman you were created to be. Much love from my heart to yours. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Candace Camille.
Well,
As we go over to Candace, we're talking about there are no champions without a challenge. Over to Candace Camille.
definitely no champions without a challenge, but there's no change without a challenge. No challenge, no change.
Amen.
And talking about just being reborn, I'm late to the party, but I'm here. So basically, one of the things I just want to say about being reborn, you don't have to go through the 3 trimesters. You got one. Then you can honestly say, this is not how the story's going to end, and you get to write your own story. So even for what we're going through, I simply say we're growing through it, because there's some lessons that we need to learn along the way. One of the lessons I know by just going through some stuff, I know what not to do again. That's the lesson that I learned. I know simply what not to do again here. So that's what I would say to you as you go through it and go through this rebirth of a woman. Push past your quit, because life is going to come in and it's going to knock you down. But lying down is just not an option. You have to take what you know and you get up and you keep going and you push past every pause and every quit, especially if you believe it, if you're convicted with your champion, with your greatness. Because one of the things of you have to be the champion of you before you can be the champion of anything. So go out and get reborn and get in this whole, what's it called again? Listen, I'm a little slow
Project
here.
Rebirth.
What is it?
Project Rebirth.
Project
Rebirth of a woman. So when you talk about the project of you, because that's what it is. So just go with what you know, push past your quit, and just be reborn again.
All right. So with that being said, we want to thank them once again for joining. Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
There is no champion without a challenge. # Project Rebirth.